The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest stories in the NBA. You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast.
My biggest concern for the coming season, I mean, it's real simple, dude. Like, I don't want to mail in this answer or anything, but it is so phenomenally simple. It's just that the Mike Brown hire is not going to work out. That he's too much like Tibbs, that he doesn't accomplish enough new stuff. Now, for all intents and purposes, and by all accounts, he seems to be like a very collaborative guy. It seems like they took a lot of care in having an exhaustive assistant head coach search for him. And it seems like if you read, what his other stops have been like, that he's very willing to talk to people and listen and, take feedback and whatever, and not be rigid in how he coaches. But my biggest worry would just be that the firing Tibbs, that all the fanfare, all of it was for nothing, and they're just actually not good enough to win a championship. And maybe that is true, but I want to at least see, I want to see at least a step forward, like we all do. And that's why they made that move. And the scariest possible thing is that it doesn't work out. So that's definitely my biggest worry. Although I'll admit it's not one that I feel strongly that I'm justified in worrying so hard about. I think that I'm probably being a little bit of a worrywart, but that's what the question was. So that's my answer. But I'm curious, what is your thing that you're most worried for?
Yeah, this is thanks, Jeff. This is a whole episode in September when all
thank that for next month, dude. Yeah,
content king, Jeff, killer. Yeah, I think in my heart of hearts, I'm going to cheat and pick two, because I think one leads into the other. I think the surface level one is that Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns don't work together. And to be clear, I don't mean don't work at all, because clearly they're very good results, right? The Knicks were the 3 seed. They made the Eastern Conference Finals. They were maybe one miracle comeback away from making the NBA Finals and putting a scare into the Oklahoma City Thunder. And yet a lot of the numbers from the playoffs scream that the Knicks were better when Cat and Brunson were not playing together. And I do think some of that is what we've talked about a million times. And it might be more of a reflection on scheme issues and also the people around them versus just the inherent flaws of those two guys. But there is and I get defensive when national people say this, but there is some merit to the idea that it is hard to win a championship when you have two guys who are positionally at least on in a championship context, two of the worst defenders, on contenders at their respective positions, playing close to 40 minutes a game in the NBA, right? And that is a lot to overcome. And if the Knicks don't make the right lineup decisions, if they don't lean into being what I think they should be, which is one of the best offenses in NBA history, it's very plausible that those two don't work out together. And that leads into my part two, which I think is about Mikal Bridges and just the idea that when they went out and got him, it was, look, it's going to be incredibly difficult to make Cat and Brunson work. We have two of the 10 best wing defenders in the NBA to make their lives as easy as humanly possible. OG Anunoby defensively, even if there were some weak stretches by his standard over the course of the year, held up his end of the bargain. I don't think Mikal came close to holding up his end of the bargain in the regular season. In the playoffs, first two rounds, he was much closer to that. I would say he was 90% of the way there against the Boston Celtics, against the Detroit Pistons. And then he got exposed again because he was used on the ball and was really just, he's not that level of screen navigator anymore. And I wonder if another offseason, maybe a little bit less pressure, maybe less minutes. I'm hoping less minutes. He ran the most miles of anyone in the NBA by far last season. I think played the most total minutes by far of anyone in the NBA last season. With a little bit less workload, with a little bit more time off the ball, can he be closer to the defender he was on the Suns? Can he get a shot back and be closer to the offensive player he was at times on the Nets? Because if he's the best version of himself, I think I have far less concerns about Brunson and Cat being an accessible duo and a functional duo against the best teams in the NBA.
Yeah, I think there are plenty of things to worry about, honestly, but plenty of things to just be assured about and happy about too, which is just that we get to worry about high level concerns like is this team good enough to win a championship?
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast.
And of course, Keon Ellis was a big story at the start of free agency, with the Sacramento Kings ultimately deciding to pick up their team option on Keon's contract, which means he's going to be paid just shy of $2.5 million next season, which there's steals and then there's criminally underpaying someone. That fits into the criminally underpaid category. But it also means that Keon will be an unrestricted free agent next offseason if the Kings allow that to happen. The Kings will be able to, or eligible to, extend Keon or come up with a extension or negotiate an extension with Keon in early 2026. I think it's around February, March time. And hopefully they're able to work out a deal and get a deal done then. But while Keon didn't have any leverage before with the team option, he's got leverage now, which he can decide if he's going to come back. He can decide if he is going to walk. And as an unrestricted free agent, there's nothing the Sacramento Kings can do to stop him. So the possibility of losing Keon Ellis is very real, and should be, I think, very scary for Sacramento Kings fans. Well, someone who knows Keon Ellis really well, has developed a relationship with Keon Ellis, a friendship with Keon while he's been here in Sacramento, is one of the best follows, in my opinion, on Kings Twitter. His name's Drew. He's the local guy. I've been chatting with Drew for a long time, gotten to know him over the years, but never had him on Locked On Kings. I know, shame on me. So Drew is going to join me right now, and we're going to discuss just what he knows and just his sense on the Keon situation. He'll share what he can or wants to about conversations that he's had with Keon over this point. And again, as someone who knows Keon pretty well personally, kind of give us an idea of what maybe Keon is thinking or considering going into this season and how he feels about the Kings picking up his option and not paying him the money that he is worth right now. So please enjoy my conversation with Drew, the local guy. Shame on me that it has taken this long. It is about time that we have the local guy, my guy Drew, here on the Locked On Kings podcast. If you're not familiar with the local guy, it must be you're not on Kings social media. Drew is one of the biggest names and one of the best follows on Sacramento Kings Twitter or social media, a guy that I've gotten the privilege of getting to know here over the last few years at Kings games all the time, and also someone who has developed a relationship with Keon Ellis, a friend of Keon Ellis, and Keon's going to be a major topic of conversation. Drew, welcome to Locked On Kings, my man. Why has it been so long? Why haven't you yelled at me yet for not having you on?
Well, I mean, it's your show, so I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna bully my way onto your show.
You should. You should.
No,
you 100% should.
Absolutely not. I'm never gonna step on anybody's toes. This is awesome though. This is I really appreciate you having me on. I've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast since Jay Ross was doing it, man. So I'm telling you, I just did D'Lo and KC not that long ago, and that was surreal because I listened to that show for so long. Like Deuce and Mo have had me on, like all these shows that I've been listening to for so long. I've now gotten the privilege to be a part of. So I think this is my probably the final Infinity Stone that I needed to collect as far as Kings podcasts and content related media that I needed to, last one I needed to be on before I could say I did them all. So thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on.
So snap your fingers and we get rid of the Lakers. Is that how it works?
Yeah. Get rid of the Lakers and keep Keon Ellis here on a lifetime contract. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And also, if you don't know, Drew hosts on Twitter Spaces. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
spaces that he gets together.
Yeah.
Anytime, like post game after Kings games, or when there were big trades and we were doing free agency watch and Kaminga watch and everything like that. Drew was hosting daily shows over there where you could even jump in and weigh in and share your voice too on what's going on. So go and check that out too. But Drew, I'm very excited to talk about Keon. I wish the circumstances were better because, like, I was talking with D'Lo about this yesterday, Damian Barling. There's a human element to all these guys, right? And if you take away the be a professional, do your job, and think about how would you feel if you were criminally underpaid? A lot of people probably have gone through that in their jobs or in their life at some point. Now, criminally underpaid for Keon Ellis is still $2 million.
Right.
But when he's going into next season and he's going to have a prominent rotational role and he's making less money than Devin Carter, who, even if he's still on the team, might not have a role, period. And he's going to make less money than almost the entire roster. I mean, I understand the frustration that Keon Ellis and his camp are feeling going into next season after the Kings picked up his option.
Yeah, I think that is the most overlooked thing about all of this is this guy's still a human being. For 48 minutes, when you watch him 82 games a season, yeah, he's a guy out there on the court. You expect him to do this, and that. He's obviously gained a massive following. He's become one of the, unsung heroes of the team, and so many people appreciate the way that he plays because he very much is Sacramento Kings basketball, or at least what this city would like Sacramento Kings basketball to be, right? Like blue collar, hardworking type of guy. But that just because he was an undrafted free agent who was a two-way, who ended up getting a standard contract, it doesn't mean that it just stops there. It's not just about, at this point in his career, it's not about just, oh, I'm happy to be here. It's, I'd like to get paid. He's got friends and family that I'm sure he would love to lock down some generational wealth for, so he can take care of everybody for forever. And so just like you said, $2 million, he's at 2.3 million this year because the option got picked up. I'm thinking he was hoping for something in the neighborhood of like a pay increase that was 5 or 6 times that amount, right? So of course anybody's going to feel a way about that. And I had a conversation with him, I think about a week or so before the option deadline, and yeah, he was, I wouldn't say he was sweating it, but he was just like, I kind of don't know what they're going to do. And when you're left in the dark like that, and then you're left in the dark basically up until the very last minute, because I found out maybe a few minutes before the tweet went out, right? Like that kind of shows me that they were really playing it. Scott Perry was playing it really close to the vest. He really wasn't letting anything out there, and I could sense the disappointment and really a little bit of the frustration that came from him when I found out. When he told me, they're picking it up. So I think that's lost on a lot of people. And I think it's easy for a lot of people to say, well, it's still $2.3 million. It's like, look, if you were making $2.3 million and your agent and your management and those around you are thinking, you could get $12, $13 million annually starting this summer, of course you're going to feel a way about it. And that ended up not happening for him. So I think there is a little bit of sense of frustration and disappointment on his end.
Well, it's also like a pay me like you play me, because when he signed his first NBA contract, and that's what a lot of people said, he signed the contract, he has to see it through. It's his first NBA deal being transferred from a two-way contract. And at that time, he's playing with the team, but he has kind of an inconsistent rotational spot. A lot can change in a year. And over last year, with all the turmoil and all the chaos that happened with the Sacramento Kings organization, Keon Ellis solidified himself as an absolute rotational piece, not just for the Sacramento Kings, but in the NBA period, right? And even starting caliber player at times, which I don't think, because Zach LaVine is here and DeMar DeRozan are here, he's going to be a starting caliber player for this team, at least right now. But he's more than capable of being flexed into that role if there's ever an injury or anything that happens, knock on wood. So Keon's thinking, look, you're playing me like a $12+ million per year player, so I want to be paid like that. And again, in sports, and we see this a lot more in football because it's obviously a more violent sport than basketball, but in a year, or even in 7 to 9 months is when he's eligible to get an extension.
Right.
A lot can change between now and then. We saw Tyrese Halliburton in one step pop his Achilles, right? The amount of players last season that tore something, or like star players. Dame Lillard is also down right now, right? Keon's a lot younger than, well, not younger than Tyrese, but a lot younger than Dame. And you can't be afraid to like step out your door or walk downstairs or anything like that, because injuries happen all the time. But if you're a $2 million per year player and you're told, hey, just wait, we'll pay you in 9 months, but something happens between now and that 9-month period, suddenly his wealth falls off a cliff, or his value falls off a cliff. So this is why players, again, especially in football, they hold out or they do these things because they want to get paid right away when they know they're worth it now, because something could happen in the future. So I'm not saying that Keon is going to throw a fit. I don't think he's going to pout or anything like that. It's just not the kind of guy that he is. You can speak to that better than I can. But I don't blame the dude one bit for walking into training camp day one and looking around and going, man, how am I the least paid guy on this roster? This is BS.
Yeah. I'm with you on that when it comes to him as a person and as a player. And you've spoken about it a ton. So have Damian and Kenny on their show. He's not that kind of guy. He's not going to come into training camp and be like, well, screw this. You know, I'm just not going to try, or I'm going to phone it in because I'm afraid I'm going to get hurt. At the end of the day, he's a competitor. He still wants to be able to prove that he should deserve minutes and be out there and impact winning. So there's no way that he's just going to like tank it and, you know, kind of take it easy so that he can preserve his body. He obviously knows the risk of the other side of that, right? Like, I mean, yeah, you may protect yourself from injury, but if teams around the league take notice of the fact that you're kind of just coasting it out there, well, then you're probably not going to get the money that you deserve, right? And even though the Kings, I'm sure, would love to keep him around, well, everybody kind of knows that if he doesn't accept an extension around the trade deadline, which I think if anything happens, it probably would be around then, if the Kings are able to shed some salary from next summer moving forward. They may offer him something if they're able to move off of somebody at the deadline. But at that point, the other side of that equation that Kings fans should probably be worried about should be, well, if he's playing really, really well and thinks that he could get something, you know, obviously he's going to consult with Bartelstein, his agent. If he could get something even bigger than that, and if he can get the other 29 teams in the league to start bidding against one another for his services, well, then that's where the scenario gets really, really scary, right? Because he's free to leave and sign with whoever he wants next summer. And that, I think, aside from the fact that you could have locked him down to a cost-controlled contract this summer, that was the other scary part of the equation was, well, they could just lose him for nothing next summer. And that would certainly be the nightmare scenario.
Yeah, the frustrating part for him, I'm sure, is this summer he's powerless. But next summer he has all the power.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
you're delaying the power for a year. And like, I know Kings fans should be concerned about exactly what you laid out there. And I can tell you this right now. 29 teams in the league, other 29 teams, they have interest in him with who he is now, because it's not just how incredibly talented he is on the defensive end. It's not just that he's a 40+% 3-point shooter, which we have no reason to believe that's going to fall off a cliff.
Right.
It's that he's affordable. And look at the league. The league is terrified money right now. And until they adjust this apron system, which I imagine they will in a few years or whatever, when there's a new CBA and everything like that. But until they adjust this apron system, teams are going to be operating with scared money. And a $12 million starting caliber player or rotational piece that you can count on to be one of your top 7, sometimes 6 guys on your roster to help you win basketball games for $12 to $15 million a year, that's a gold mine. So Keon is going to have a tremendous amount of value around the league. So the Sacramento Kings better hope that they can get a deal done during this season, because there are going to be other teams that are going to be in a bidding war for him. There are going to be teams in a lot better situations that are going to be able to offer him the same money that the Kings are willing to give him. And the Kings also have to worry about paying Keegan Murray this year, and that's going to be a pretty healthy chunk of change too. So I understand, like, I guess I understand why Scott Perry picked up the option to give himself as much flexibility right now. But he gave away a lot of power in these negotiations. And I gut feeling, Drew, is the Kings are going to regret it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I had mentioned this before. It's so weird because of a few years ago, you told me that this was going to happen just me specifically. Like, oh yeah, that random draft prospect that the Kings got on a 2-way that you happen to be very high on. You're going to become buddies with him, and you're maybe going to fly a little bit too close to the sun and get a little bit too invested in his career versus the team. I'd be like, yeah, whatever. That would never happen. But it did, because the internet's a crazy place. I I'm in this weird spot now where it's like, look, I would love it if this guy played for my favorite team and the team that you cover for the rest of his career and stays here in Sacramento for the rest of his career. You know, he told me, and I'm going to get ahead of this because maybe when it comes time when he perhaps leaves, people might say things and people might be upset. He loves it here. He loves Sacramento. He loves the city. He loves the people. He's built his own community here. He told me, I hate moving. Like, why would I want to just pack up my stuff and go? I have all my stuff here. You know, the only downside for him is, you know, he's originally from Florida. So he's like, look, my family's a little far away. But aside from that, I love Sac. You know, I love the vibe here, and all the people I meet on the street, you know, so friendly, and he's made so many friends here. He would love to stay, but it comes down to what's best for my career and what's best for me moving forward. And if it means leaving here, then yeah, it's probably what's going to have to happen. If that ever does happen, it would never be anything against the city of Sacramento, which I'm sure you explain that a lot with the whole Fox situation. I hate even bringing that up, but you know, people are going to feel away. I hope that people don't hold anything against him. He would love to stay here forever, but the team has made its decisions. Like, they've made their bed. And I think I'm with you on that, Matt. I think in the end, they will be kicking themselves for not declining that option, making him a restricted free agent and exploring all the options there.
The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Perhaps you believe the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl. Odds are shorter today than they were yesterday, I'll tell you that. I think I got them at 25-1. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Jokic and Serbia absolutely roll Estonia.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast.
Serbia took care of business in their Eurobasket opener over Estonia. Jokic with a double-double swipe, as you know, Jokic made it look easy. Like, he didn't even have to do a whole lot. You're getting a lot from Nikola Jokic. It's good to see Jokic able to not have to play heavy minutes and still have such an impact and dominate these games.
Yeah, I said on PC today, I am not going to be surprised if Serbia rolls to gold in Eurobasket. And I think Paris is a very good team. No Victor Wembanyama. Germany is a very good team. I think that they are going to present a lot of problems and issues. But if you just ask me, just kind of based on what I've seen so far this summer and just what the vibes kind of feel like from around the league and from all the teams, it just feels like Serbia is in such a sweet place. You know, this might be the most complete team Serbia's had, and Serbians, you know, please feel free to correct me if you feel like differently. But 2016, they win silver in the Olympics. 2024, they win bronze in the Olympics. But remember last year, you know, Jovic is still kind of finding his way around in the NBA. You know, he's a year younger than he was now today. They had like the veterans. They had a lot of things going well for them. But this feels like the most complete basketball team. Bogey is still at the peak of his powers. Petrosev looks really, really, really good right now. And then you're getting Nikola Jokic, which I think, depending on how the tournament goes, you know, if he has to, you know, Jokic is obviously he's gonna adjust his game based on whatever's happening on the floor. There's a real world where Jokic leads them in scoring. You know, the 18 points he had were all just really, really smart within the flow of the offense basketball. The way they've been taking apart teams defensively so far in the couple of qualifier games, the friendlies rather, and then leading into the game yesterday versus Estonia, they just look like a well-oiled machine. And you know, Miroslav, you know, talked about the on-off minutes with Jokic. You know, obviously that's going to be a thing just because Serbia doesn't have, like, you know, when you lead the epicenter of having your best player on the floor, you're probably not going to look the same. And they didn't. But they were up 41 when Jokic went out. 23 minutes played yesterday. And I love low-maintenance Jokic. You know, Matt, remember we used to watch him play in the championship year when he played versus Portland. I think he had 4 points, 16 rebounds, and 10 assists. Versus Detroit, he had another one of those 4-point games where he was just shredding everybody apart. Jokic at his best, Matt, is him with low scoring outputs. Because at that point, it's like he's dictating the pace and flow. And he's basically boycotting scoring because he's finding other options for the team to be able to thrive. And that's what it felt like yesterday, that he was just in full control. The team was in full control. Jovic, Petrusev, they all just look like they're kind of on a mission right now. I was really, really happy with the results from Serbia yesterday.
I thought Petrusev was great. I thought he was so good in this game. Jovic is interesting, right? Because I have taken some delight in the fact that Heat fans completely overestimated him and talked about him as like the next coming. And he had these like really good advanced metrics where, look, I believe in the advanced metrics. I believe in the plus minus. I believe in all that stuff as like indicators of something. But it was like, whenever I watched him, I was just like, But man, I mean, the kid's hitting.
Yeah.
He looks silk. Like his jumper is smooth right now. And he just looks like a completely different player right now for Serbia.
And he is a really good athlete. You know, when you look at Serbia play, they have, I would say they have a collection of really smart players, and I think players that do a lot of things really well. But they don't have like a lot of players that are just like really good vertical athletes. You know, like I said, I think Petrusev can do that a little bit. Guduric can do that a little bit. Obviously, Aleska Armanovic, he's a really good point guard. He's small, not like a lot of statue. They have players that are like good athletes. Milutinov, like I think is a good like vertical athlete, but by far Jovic is their best sideline to sideline athlete, best vertical athlete. He is quick in his explosion. He can get by you, if you're not in good position defensively. And defensively, he actually makes really good rotations and stuff as well. I joked on the timeline, Matt, that trade for Jovic to Denver is going to feed the streets of Belgrade for years. I don't know how the Heat feel about him, like where they value him exactly. We'll see, I guess, when his contract comes up. But you think he's their most valuable prospect on the roster right now, even over Khalil Ware, maybe?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably not, just because like Jovic did slip a little bit in the rotation versus Khalil, who got more and more time.
Yeah.
But I think it's close. I do think that they like Jovic's long-term potential for being an impact player. If it clicks for him, he's all of a sudden going to jump from being like, he's not going to go to like being like a superstar, but it's just going to be like, oh man, who's really good? Like the guy that makes everything go is Nikola Jokic. This is like a classic. Where like early on, I'm like, he's overrated. And then by the time that he gets good, I'm like, he's really good. This guy that everyone's been telling me is good for years and years and years.
Is he as big as you, like when you think about Jovic, is he as big as you, like in your head? Do you realize he's 6'10"?
No, like because part of this is like when they come in, they're always so skinny.
Yeah.
Like the kids are always so skinny. And then like they grow into because you get into an NBA workout, a strength regimen, and it's insane. Like the growth is nuts. Like take a look at guys' rookie year pictures and then 2 years later. Yeah. And that professional training just absolutely makes them into monsters. Like he's so much bigger now than he seemed to me when I first saw him at Summer League.
Look, I think Jovic, what's funny enough is, and I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. He's not like I think he'll be the second best Serbian in the league in the next couple of years. I'm kind of on that track with him and where he is. I think Bogey looks really, really good right now. It sucks that he's, not doesn't suck, but he's on the Clippers. I thought Bogey had some really good moments in the playoffs last year as well. I actually love how improved the overall talent level of Serbian basketball is, and I think a lot of these guys are going to, as time goes on, they'll be able to translate more and more to the league. But I mean, keeping on Jokic a little bit, man, he just looks like. I mean, Matt, I watched a little bit of your episode the other day when I had cell phone service when you and Matt, Ryan were talking about just like season expectations, best season ever, and all that stuff. I think Jokic is about to go nuts this year. Like I'm just in a different way.
I think it'd be different because, like you said, he's at his best when he doesn't like. A good indicator is kind of what you said. Like he doesn't want to score 30 a game, and the fact that he did like there's like these things that I can tell you are all related. Nikola Jokic was grumpy the entire season. Nikola Jokic scored a career high.
Yeah,
those two things are related. So I do think it's interesting. The plus minus stuff is a topic for another day. Go check out Grace's Twitter timeline if you follow her. She had some good thoughts on it, I thought, and I have more thoughts on it, but want to wait a little while to talk about it. Serbia, by the way, via FIBA.com, did win every single category in the box score. But when they're moving the ball, it's a joy to watch, it says here. The 14th time a team dished out 30-plus assists in a Eurobasket game since FIBA began tracking the stat in 1995. 30-plus assists.
Yeah, I mean, team's incredible. Like I said, they should be the go ahead favorites to win the gold.
Yeah, France took care of business. That one will be interesting to watch. Georgia with the upset, Mamu,
Mamu,
Goga,
yeah,
and Goga upsetting Spain. That was huge.